Man ends marriage after wife cheats during his darkest times, blames his depression, then begs to stay when he becomes successful. What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to Alpha Talk. So today's story is titled, My Wife Cheated, Called It a Mistake and Thinks It Shouldn't Break Us. And this is a story, guys, about a man who marries a single mom with not one, not two, but 3 kids that this guy's ultimately going to be responsible for, paying for all of that. He marries her, and basically, in time, he falls on hard times financially. I'll get into why and how that happened, and he falls into depression, all that. They become more and more distant, right? And ultimately, he finds out that she wants to basically end the marriage because of all those different things. You know, so much for in sickness and in health, in good times and bad, that type of thing, you know? Right, basically she's done. Well, then this guy, he convinces her to stay in it a little bit longer for the kids. The guy pulls himself out of the mess he's in, turns around his financial situation like that because he started a business that wasn't doing so well. Now, he's doing really well, making a lot of money, went to counseling for the depression, lost weight, in great shape. He's on cloud 9, everything's great. And he finds out, guess what? During the tough times, she was having an affair. She was cheating on him. And of course, he wants to end it, but now she wants to stay in the marriage because guess what? Now he's making a lot of money, now he's doing really well, and she's benefiting from it financially. Okay, and there's more to it, which I'll get into in the story, but there are very important lessons here in this story, guys, which I'm going to obviously go over, one of which is, you definitely got to watch out for the single moms. Okay? I'm not saying that they're all bad, okay? Not by any means, because I know a lot of single moms that really have it together and do a good job, and they're not out to use guys, okay? But there are a lot that do, so you gotta be careful that you don't get them in a situation like that and be taken advantage of. Number 2, watch out for women that have a history of cheating, because you're going to find that she has a history of cheating, okay? You know the saying, once a cheater, always a cheater. It really proves true so many times. And so if you're dating a woman and it comes up about her past, and she mentions that she's cheated on all her boyfriends, or cheated on her last boyfriend or husband or whatever, guys, the odds are, if things get bad, she may do that to you. So that's a major thing God pay attention to. Another thing I want to bring up in this article, another lesson and warning, is there are some women out there, well, a lot actually, that they only want you for the good times. If things go bad, they're not going to stick with you. Now, there are some good women out there, some left in this world, believe it or not, that will stick by you during the hard times, and that's great, okay? Because a lot of guys will stick by women during the hard times. But others, the second things get bad, they're out of there. However, once things are better, then they're happy to be with you and your money and all the resources and all that. So you got to be very, very careful. So anyhow, guys, I'm going to go through this story. You're going to see what I'm talking about here, and you'll see ultimately how this guy comes out on top. It starts off, we've been married for 8 years, together for 10 plus. We have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old son. My wife also has 3 children from a previous marriage. 3 kids? Why on God's green earth does this guy think it's a good idea to get involved with a woman that he becomes responsible for 3 kids? But it's a possibility this guy simply didn't exactly have a whole lot of women lining up for him when he was younger, so basically he was taking what he could get. Or maybe he had the white knight type of syndrome, where he wants to be the hero and the provider and take care of those kids, or some crap like that. Who knows? But there are a lot of single moms out there. Not all, but a lot. Now deliberately pick guys that obviously don't have kids of their own and go after these guys, the beta male provider types, because they know they'll be happy to get her. Because these are the type of guys that she wouldn't get the time of day when she was younger and single and hot. But now that she's older and has mouths to feed, then she's interested. Be careful, guys. He says, we first moved in together in 2013. She quit her job and was able to get an administrative job at the company I was working for. During that time, she and this dude I knew from the company hit it off, and he would carpool with her to her house and vice versa. Pay attention to that. Sometimes he would get off and hang out at my house with me, and I really didn't make much of it. I thought that was a healthy coworker relationship. I knew the guy before I met my wife. The guy was married, and we had hung out together, him and his wife and me and my wife, or girlfriend at the time, at Christmas parties, etc., and it seemed like a really healthy relationship. Well, it should be. But you're going to find out later on down the road in this story, that it wasn't quite as healthy as this guy thought it was. Me and my wife would talk, and he would tell her and his wife, me, my wife. This guy wasn't writing this very well. My wife would talk to me about what he would tell her, and now his wife was pregnant, and so on and so forth. And I never made anything of it. My wife only lasted at the job for about a year. We never heard from the dude again, other than maybe social media. So, he says here how his wife didn't only last that job for a year. A lot of times, guys, when I do these stories about these women that take advantage of these guys for whatever reasons, there's always that little part where she has a very hard time holding on to a job, or she's always going on to some other job and getting fired. Some drama happens, and she can't stand a job too long. Pay attention to that, guys. If you're dating a girl and she can't keep a job, there's always some turmoil, some drama going on in her office. May not be other people, it may be her, okay? Understand that, and if you are a sucker and you're naive, you're going to end up paying for her all the time. Fast forward a few years. I quit my job in late 2017 to start my own real estate practice. Ever since I switched jobs, things have gone downhill from there, mainly because the first year, I used all of our savings to keep afloat, didn't make enough money to replace my old income, and our old lifestyle took a hit. I had to take odd jobs and side jobs that wouldn't conflict with the start of my real estate career to keep up with the bills and home expenses until my business could take off. That's typical for a first year or a few years in business. Most businesses, when you first start out, don't make any money. They usually don't make any profits. This is why people have to have, usually a decent amount of money to pull from, to take care not only of their house, their personal expenses, but also to run the business, okay? It's very rare for a brand new business to start making profit immediately, let alone enough profit to actually live comfortably. It takes a few years, and you're going to see here all this financial turmoil definitely has a negative impact on his relationship. After having our second child in 2015, her oldest moved out to go to college, and me starting real estate, it was a whirlwind of changes that took a hit on our relationship. We no longer seek the same things. She would complain about my disconnect from her, and I was never mentally there in the house, which I admit. In the first year in the real estate, it made me go into this deep depression, and I was really in a dark place. Yeah, I mean, running your own business, especially when things aren't going well, is very stressful. But guys, if you're going to do relationships, if you're going to do marriage, as hard as it is, you gotta be that strong rock and still be there for her and communicate with her and things like that, like it was before. Because if you don't, she's going to. Even though you were doing your best, you're working your tail off to make money and provide for all the damn kids that she had, still in their minds. They see it as you don't care about them because you're not there for her or taking around or just doing something. So you got to communicate. You got to make some time for her, otherwise it's not going to go well. And if you, turns out you're with a woman that has a history of cheating, she could maybe be faithful when things are good, but the second things start going bad, the second that the guy isn't paying attention to her, even if he's working hard like this guy here with this business to make something great for his family, these women with these reputations for cheating, they're going to go find that attention and validation and, some love in someplace else. Fast forward to 2020. We had an argument where she mentioned to me that she was craving attention because I wasn't giving it to her. See what I told you? We stopped having sex for months at a time. My wife spent all day watching Netflix when I'm at home, never cares to put the kids to bed, never cares to do anything else once she's done with work. And I was mostly scrolling through my phone. I decided to take a trip after 3 cancellations to go see my mom. I told her to come with me, and she said she couldn't do it, and she had to quarantine before she can get back to work, and I should go me and the boys. As in, his boys. I go to see my mom with my 2 boys. While away, I had this weird vibe from her. She was treating me as if we were friends on the phone and via instant message, very weird and inexplicable. Long story short, I get back from the trip, and the conversation she has with me is this, and this is her speaking to him. She says, "I think you and I are in the process of breaking up. We haven't had sex, and you don't seem to be happy, etc., etc." So, understandably, she's obviously playing neglected and lonely, okay, and that's okay, fine. But was she communicating with him prior to this conversation? Was there any talking? No. And you're going to find out what's really going on behind the scenes in a moment. I told her I was indeed in a dark place and not feeling emotionally well, mainly because my relationship with her and how things were not according to my expectations at work. But I wanted to pull through, and I even said then, I believe we still have a 50-50 chance to salvage our marriage, and that's how you feel. We start the process of figuring out what we're going to do for our marriage and kids, and I start going to counseling for my depression. Long story short, again, I pull myself out, focusing on work, exercise, and healthy eating. My business takes off in ways I couldn't even imagine, and while this is all happening, we are sleeping together and are still married, trying to figure it out. Notice, once he came to terms and talked about he's having problems and depression, he wasn't whining about it, which I tell you guys never do, but he just communicated. Obviously, he's going through some tough times. He took action to get some counseling for the depression. He started working out. He started eating healthy, eating well, which I tell you guys all the time. You guys should do exercise and eat well. And things started turning around, and of course, his business really turned around, which is awesome. This is what men do. We go through problems, we get through it, we find a way. Okay? A lot of guys, they just give up. No, you find a way, and you'll get there. He says here, while this is happening, he gets a text from the dude's wife, the guy that used to work with his wife and carpool her and obviously a so-called friend of his. He gets a text from the guy's wife with screenshots of my wife and him talking, meeting up for lunches, calling each other babe, sending each other videos and pictures, her saying how she loves his voice and how he wants to see her, etc., etc. All this happens while I was gone before we had the conversation of, I think we are in the process of breaking up. It gets even worse. There is a text from 2013, the day that I proposed to her, of her telling him how I just proposed to her, and she had a wet dream with him. So when, even before all these problems were going on, that marriage and his business and all having an impact on the household, she was obviously keeping contact with this guy and obviously having an affair with him on the day that he proposed back when they were boyfriend-girlfriend. But she went and married this guy anyway because, why? Because he's a provider. She's got 3 kids. He can provide. She's obviously very unstable when it comes to working herself. She got herself the beta male provider. He doesn't describe what she looks like, but I'm going to guess that she's probably, in his view, he got a so-called prize, right? But meanwhile, you're going to find out this guy is exactly take the guy. This guy basically is a Chad and Tyrone type. So, you know, they like to cheat with the Chad and Tyrones while being married, by being married, and staying with the beta male provider. I called her up, told her we need to talk about this dude, and asked her if she met up with him. She says yes, and there was some serious making out. I confronted her with the pictures of her and him in what appeared to be a house, and she couldn't and didn't tell me where it was because it would sound worse than what it is. So, she said there was some serious making out going on, but I don't buy that. I think that is barely scratches the surface as to what was really going on, given the fact that she's been obviously having, at the very, very least, an emotional affair with this guy going back to 2013. But there's no way I buy that, oh, just making out. No, I've done too many of these stories. I've lived way too long to know darn well that's not the case because keep in mind here, she wants to keep this guy her husband. Because this guy is now doing well financially and taking care of the bills. Goes on. I took a day to soak it all in, and the next day I told her that we are just raising kids. I don't want to be with you, and as soon as we figure it all out how we're going to do with the kids, I'm out. She literally tells me this was my easy way out. What the hell? I didn't go out and meet some idiot that can't even count to 100 and is a garbage father to his kids and wife, has been in jail and is in probation at the moment. So he wants out. That's it. He's been through enough of it, but she wants to stay with him for obvious reasons. God was good enough to allow me to see this guy the next day. I encountered him at an office and kicked his ass and he ran. I told my wife that they both thought there would be no consequences to their actions. My wife and I had a talk later. I calmed down to hear her. It was just, and she said it was just a minor mistake. Did I mention that she ended her previous marriage with infidelity on her end as well? Well, there's a big surprise. What I tell you guys, once a cheater, always a cheater. The reason her previous marriage didn't work out is because she was cheating on that guy. Now, I'd like to know if those 3 kids that she had, that before she married this guy, is that from her ex-husband, as in like one guy, or these 3 children of her as a result of many baby daddies? The odds are probably that's the case. Says here, in my mind, she gave up on me before she even told me. In my mind, her actions spoke louder than her words. Yes, actions always speak louder than words, guys, when it comes to women. Well, it comes to anybody in general. Pay attention to their actions, not their words every time. And now I'm making solid money, have a 3+ year solid real estate practice and lost 20 pounds. And I'm eating healthy, reading, etc. And she sees how I pulled myself out from depression, and I'm doing great, and now she's thinking that she should keep me. Well, of course she's thinking that because she is a parasite. She relies on this guy, okay? But to me, I don't see how we get past that and how we get back to loving each other when the ultimate disrespect has been committed. In my mind, this thing is over, and I don't see it any other way. It is over, okay? Because she's going to do the same thing. Guaranteed, guaranteed. She may be one of these types that will be fun to be around, and all be well as long as everything is going well in terms of money coming in, the guy paying attention to her. But the second things start going bad, she'll go right back to her bad habits and finding some other guy to get attention from and probably money from and all that. That is just the nature of how some people are. And you know what? It isn't just women. There are guys that do the same thing, just in a different type of way, okay? But this is the men's channel. We're focused on, women in here to help guys out and not make these mistakes. So, I would definitely, if I was this guy, I would end it, and he's obviously going to take a hit because he started a business while he was married to her, and now he's doing well. But better he ends it soon, so because the more his business grows, makes more money, she can get more of that, okay? And he mentioned, there's 2 kids with her, and not to mention those 2 kids are a nice insurance policy for him, or who knows how that's going to go. But it also depends on what state they live in, okay? Because you could have some states that are no-fault divorce states and other states that are different. Who knows? But it'd be best for this guy to just simply end the marriage and move on because she's a user. It's not going to change. They're not going to have what they wanted, what he wants. And even if he, tries to work on it, so to speak, he's not going to trust her. And why put yourself through all that stress and anxiety and wondering every time she's on the phone, is she talking to someone to do because he's not going to trust her, okay? And she's obviously cheated in her previous marriage. She's going to do it. She did do it here. She'll do it again, okay? It's just the nature of the beast, of her beast, so to speak. So, I'd recommend the guy walk away, take a hit, talk to a lawyer, find out what's good, bad, notably about the whole divorce process, depending on where he lives, and move on. And this guy, obviously, he may take a hit in the short term. He may have to live in a crappy house for a while, small apartment while he's getting his life back together, but he will. This guy is obviously resilient. He got his business turned around. He's doing well. He'll be fine. So you guys find yourself in a situation like this, follow that path. You can always walk away. You can always start over, guys. We're strong. We're resilient. We don't need a whole lot to be happy, okay? But we do need peace of mind, and we're going to be with someone. We need someone we can trust that's not going to go cheat on us and have our back when we go through a tough time. But anyhow, guys, I'm going to read a few comments. Somebody had below, just a few guys, what they had to say about this, just to show you it's not just my point of view of the things I'm saying. One guy says, okay, what sort of advice are you looking for here? Sounds like you made up your mind already. Go ahead and talk to a lawyer to prepare divorce papers, get her served, save those shots the other man's wife sent you, and show them to your lawyer. She might be able to claim half your business as the day of the filing. It was built in the marriage, so the sooner you file, the more of that you will retain. That's what I was saying. Do not wait until your youngest is 18. Get out now, take some time to build on what you have started with your business and with that personal development, and when you're ready, start dating with no tolerance for cheats. Yeah, this guy needs to take a lot of time before he gets involved with more women. He needs to really work on himself and educate himself so he doesn't make the same mistake twice. Another guy says, the original poster's first mistake was marrying a cheater, and she has 3 kids too. Cheaters are a special kind of disgusting people. Of all the people the original poster could choose to marry, he chose a cheater. WTF. Yeah, he chose a cheater. I mean, I'm going to assume it came up in conversation, and that should have been. But a lot of guys think that, oh, she'll be different with me, or I could change her. It isn't just women that have that mindset with the bad boys. Oh, I can be the one to change him. I can be the one to fix him. A lot of guys do with women too. Don't do it. Don't waste your time. And of course, getting involved with the single mom of 3 kids he's got to take in. The guy goes on. If she has a history of cheating and her previous marriage ended because of her infidelity, she should be the last and the worst choice to pick as a wife. You don't choose a cheater as a wife and expect her to be the best example of fidelity and trust. She should never have been your wife or even girlfriend after her claiming her cheating as a mistake. Emphasize the fact that she should have never been your girlfriend, let alone your wife. I completely agree. And the last comment from a guy says, did you know her previous relationship ended the way it did? On top of that, you also were taking care of her 3 kids. I know people see this differently, but I don't find myself obligated to take care of another man's children. There's some fault on your side with the whole depression and not being emotionally available, but it seems like she was already on this dude before you even had kids and got married, started having issues. Throw her arrest to the curb and don't look back. Couldn't agree more. He continues, be there for your boys and pass your hard-earned lessons on to them so they don't make the same mistakes in the future. The marriage is over, even if it wasn't one in the first place. Lesson for dudes out there: don't get involved with single mothers unless you're assured of what your role is and what kind of woman she is, etc. 9 times out of 10, it's going to end terribly. Yeah, like the guy said. Not all are like that, but a lot are. And even with the good ones, you're going to have your share of headaches. You know, it's not going to be as easy as dating a woman without any children. You're going to have issues with the ex-husband or ex-baby daddy. You could have issues with the kids. Sometimes the kids may not want to listen to you saying, "You're not my dad," and things like that. She's going to be prone to always put the kids first. And yeah, obviously, she wants to take care of her kids. But if you guys have plans for a Friday or Saturday night and she's got to cancel, at the last minute, that's going to be a big headache to deal with. Of course, she's going to take care of her kids, I get that, but that's going to be a headache for a single guy that doesn't have any kids. And then not to mention the fact of being potentially used and all that. You just don't need that, guys. Again, they're not all like that, but a lot are. And finally, he finished up saying, "Best of luck at what you're already going to do. Not sure what advice you're seeking here. You seem to set on what you want and know what to do. Just take the first step. In other words, talk to a lawyer, find out your options, and move on. End the story." So anyhow, guys, that is it for today. I just wanted to go through that, guys, just reminding of those lessons again about the single moms. Be very, very, very careful on that one there. And how a lot of women, they'll be happy to be with you during the good times, but during the bad times, a lot of them, they're not going to be there. They're not going to support you and, unfortunately, sometimes even cheat on you, okay? They'll be happy. They'll be happy to be with you when you're successful. But while you're growing that success and all that, not so much. And obviously, the other lessons about pay attention about the whole infidelity thing. Major red flag. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.